Hello dear students, my name is Devender Kaur and you all are welcome to my YouTube channel The Enlightened Room. In this video we will discuss about the chapter body movements, so let's get started. So in this chapter we will discuss about the how does the bodies of different organisms move, including the human beings. So first of course we will start with the human beings. And you all know that all the living organisms, all the living creatures show some kind of movement. And these kind of movements can be observed in their bodies. For example, in our body, we chew and grind the food by moving our jaws and teeth. Our heart contracts and expands to circulate blood to all the parts of the body. Similarly, we see so many things around us with our eyeballs, and also our chest moves back and forth when we breathe. So this change in the position of any part of the body with respect to its axis is known as movement. So in around us we have various plants, we have various animals, and the plants also show some kind of movement. For example, if we take an example of a touch-me-not plant, which is also known as mimosa plant, if we touch the leaves of that mimosa plant or touch-me-not plant, they kind of shy up, like they kind of fold up. Similarly, the flowers of daisy and sunflower, the flowers of daisy move close at the night, and the sunflower also move in the direction of the sun is moving. Okay, so movement is necessary for the survival of all the living organisms, whether it is plants, whether it is animals, whether it is us, the human beings. So now let's discuss about our next topic, which is locomotion. Now locomotion is a kind of movement of the whole body of an organism from one place to another. So plants are always fixed, they have roots, and their roots are fixed in the soil, and the roots firmly bind up with each other. Okay, so the plants do not move, but they do show some kind of movement, but they do not show any kind of locomotion. As I told you that locomotion is the movement of the whole body of the organism from one place to another. So we have never seen a plant moving with its thorn up from the ground, right? So they do not show locomotion, but the animals, the reptiles, the insects, we human beings show the locomotion by moving from one place to another. That means we have an ability to move from one place to another. So locomotion is possible in animals in various ways like walking, running, swimming, flying, hopping, and many more. Now the locomotion of any organism is important. Well, in case of animals, it is important in certain ways. For example, to find the food and water, to find their shelter, to protect themselves from their enemies and predators, and also to move from an unfavorable environment to a favorable environment. You can take the example of migrating birds here. Also, it is useful to find the suitable places for laying eggs or rearing their young ones. For example, snakes lay their eggs at the place where the heat of the sun reaches the most. Okay, so now let's discuss about the skeletal system. As the locomotion is about the movement of the whole body, so the locomotion is only possible because of this skeleton, that means our bones. Okay, so for that we need to know what is skeletal system. Skeletal system is a kind of framework of all the bones in our body, and this framework is known as skeleton. In our human body, the skeleton is made of 206 bones. Okay, so if we take an x-ray of our complete body, and we will see if we count, or you can take the example of a skeleton in any kind of biology lab or any kind of lab, you would see there would be, if you want to count, there would be 206 bones in a skeleton. Also, a child has more bones than an adult person. That means a child has approximately 300 bones when it is born. But as the child grows, some of the bones fuse together, they join together, and that's how they reduce in number. Now our skeleton has also some kind of function. Our skeleton has some main functions, like our skeleton of course gives the shape to our body. For example, it gives shape to our face, to our body. It helps us, this shape also helps us to move in a proper way. Also, it supports our body. It gives the protection to the delicate internal organs. For example, the skull protects our brain. The lungs protect the rib cage protects our chest. That means our lungs and the heart. Okay. Also, the backbone protects our spinal cord. Okay. Now, the next point is it helps in the movement of our various body parts. That means it helps us to stand, it helps us to run, it helps us to walk together with the help of muscles. Next one is our bones are filled with a very soft substance which is known as bone marrow. The red blood cells and the white blood cells are made inside our bone marrow. Now let's discuss about the various parts of a skeleton. First of all, we will discuss about the skull. Our skull is a bony structure on the head. It is made of 22 bones, and out of these 8 flat bones form the brain box, which is also known as cranium, and enclose and protects our brain, while the remaining 14 bones form the shape of the face. And all the bones of the skull are fixed except the lower jaw. Our lower jaw is the only movable bone in the skull, and it helps us to chew the food, and it helps us to speak and talk. The next part of skeleton is backbone or spine. The backbone forms the main axis of the skeleton. It is made of 33 small ring-like shaped or ring-shaped bones which are known as vertebrae. These small bones join together to form a small column which is known as vertebral column, and we normally in layman language we call it spine. Now this spine protects our delicate spinal cord. It also provides support to the body. The joints where vertebrae meet allow slight movement, and this allows us to twist our back. Okay. Now next one is rib cage. In rib cage there are 12 pairs of thin and curved bones which are known as ribs. These bones form a rib cage which protects the heart and the lungs. And all the 12 pairs of ribs are joined to the backbone at the back, and the first 10 pairs are joined with the chest bone or breastbone in front to form the rib cage. Now you can see the last 2 pairs of the ribs which are free at the front end and are called floating ribs. The next one is the limbs. There are 2 pairs of limbs. First one is a pair of 4 limbs or arms, and the second one is a pair of hind limbs or legs. The bones of the arms are joined together to the spine by the shoulder girdle and the collarbone. So our upper arm has only one bone called the humerus. In the lower arm, there are 2 bones, and their name is radius and ulna. Now let's discuss about the legs. The bones of the legs are joined to the spine by the hip girdle. Our upper leg has one bone, and which is known as femur or thigh bone, and this femur is the longest bone in our body. Similarly, our lower leg has 2 bones called tibia and fibula. Now let's discuss about the girdles. There are 2 types of girdles, a pair of shoulder girdles and a pair of hip girdles. The limbs are not joined directly to the backbone but to the girdles, and the arms are joined to the shoulder girdle and the legs are joined to the hip girdle. Now let's discuss about the joints. The bones of our body are joined to each other at different places. The places where 2 or more bones join, they are known as a joint. The bones are joined by tough flexible bands of elastic tissues which are known as ligaments. The ends of the bones forming a joint is lined with a layer of tough and elastic tissue called cartilage. This cartilage makes the ends of the bones smooth and reduce the friction between the bones during the movement. This cartilage is also present in other parts of the body, for example in the upper part of the ear and in the front part of the nose. Now there are various types of joints. Number 1 is immovable joints, which are also known as fixed joints. These joints do not allow any movement between the bones. For example, the bones of the skull except the lower jaw bones, are interlocked with each other and held together by fibrous cartilage, which do not allow any movement. The second one is slightly movable joints. In these slightly movable joints allow very little movement as per their name, and this happens due to the presence of a pad of flexible cartilage between their ends. For example, the joints present between the adjacent vertebrae in the backbone or spine, which allow only slight movements. This kind of joint provides more support. Now let's discuss about the freely movable joints. Most of the joints in our body are freely movable. Well, some of the examples are the ball and socket joint. Well, in this type of joint, a ball-shaped end of a bone fits into the hollow cup-shaped socket of the other bone. This joint allows maximum movement in all directions, and the joint of the shoulder and the hip are the examples of ball and socket joint. The other freely movable joint is hinge joint. A hinge joint is like the hinges in a door. We have hinge joints in our elbows, fingers, knees and toes. They allow movement of the bones in one direction, that is up and down or back and forth movement. The next one is pivot joint. The joint where our neck joins the head is a pivot joint. It allows us to bend our head forward and backward and turn the head to our left or right. Now it's time for gliding joint. This kind of joint allows bones to glide over each other, providing the little movement in all the directions. The gliding joints are found between the wrist and the carpals and between the ankle and the tarsals. Now let's discuss about the muscular system. The bones cannot move by themselves. The bones are attached to each other through ligaments, as we discussed earlier. The muscles that are attached to the bones help them move. So the muscles are attached to the bones by strong fibers called tendons. The number of muscles varies from 656 to 800 in the human body. There are about 639 skeletal muscles in our body, and each one causes a particular movement. The muscles help us smile, chew our food, push food into stomach, and also in beating of our heart. When a muscle is attached to a bone, contracts, it pulls the bones and makes them move. The muscle can only pull but cannot push the bone back. So another muscle is required to pull the bone back in the opposite direction. Therefore, one muscle pulls the bone away from the joint while its partner pulls it back. So two muscles have to work together as a pair to move a bone. Now let's discuss about the locomotion in animals. First we will discuss about the earthworm. An earthworm has a long cylindrical body, as you can see it through the picture, and it is made of many rings or segments joined end to end. It has a liquid skeleton which helps in maintenance of body shape. On the undersurface of the body, a number of minute bristles are present which help the earthworm get a firm grip on the ground, and muscles are attached to these bristles, help to contract the body. There are two types of muscles in the earthworm's body. Number one is circular and number two is longitudinal. When the circular muscles contract, these segments become long and thin, and when the longitudinal muscles contract, these segments become short and thick. The earthworm moves by lengthening and shortening of the body segments with the help of circular and longitudinal muscles. To move first, the earthworm contracts the circular muscles in the front segments. As a result, the front part of the body becomes long and moves a little ahead by withdrawing the bristles from the ground. Then the longitudinal muscles in the front part of the earthworm contract and these segments become short and thick. The bristles on the front part now grip the ground, and segments in the rear or back part of the earthworm becomes thin and long due to contraction of circular muscles. Next, the rear part of the earthworm becomes short and thick due to the contraction of longitudinal muscles, and in this way, the earthworm moves a small distance ahead. Now let's discuss about the snails. Snails have hard shells on their back to protect them from heat and enemies. The snails have a large flat foot made up of strong muscles, and the foot produces a slimy substance called mucus, which reduces the friction between the foot and the ground surface. The muscles of the foot enable the snails to move forward, and a trail of mucus is left behind when the snails crawl. The shell does not help in moving from one place to another. It has to be dragged along. Now let's discuss about the cockroaches. The cockroaches have 3 pairs of jointed legs and strong muscles to pull these legs. Now this thing helps or enables them to walk or run. Their feet have tiny claws that help them climb on walls. So the cockroaches have 2 pairs of wings, but they can only fly short distances. The outer hard exoskeleton of the cockroach is made up of different units which help in the movement of the body. So the cockroaches have a pair of antennae to smell things and a pair of cerci that can detect even very high slight movement. The next one is snakes. Snakes do not have any legs yet. They have ability to move rapidly. They move by crawling on their belly. The snake has a long and flexible vertebral column. Each vertebra is connected to a pair of ribs, which are also connected to belly scales to the bottom. Strong muscles attached to the ribs, vertebrae, and belly scales are responsible for the movement of the snake's body. A snake moves by turning its body into several loops on alternate sides. Each loop of the snake gives it a forward push by pressing against the ground. Since its long body makes many loops, each loop gives it a forward push. The snake moves forward very fast. The snakes do not move in a straight line, they move in a wave-like manner. Now it's time for the fish. Well, you all would have observed a fish while it is in the aquarium or in a pond. You would see that the head and tail of the fish are smaller while the middle portion of the body is bigger. The body tapers at both the ends. The shape of the body of fish is streamlined like a boat. This type of body shape helps a fish to overcome the resistance offered by water and enables the fish to swim through the water. The fish moves in the side waves or wave-like manner. This movement is made possible by strong muscles attached to the flexible backbone. During swimming, the front part of the body curves to one side and the tail part moves towards the opposite side. So the fish forms a curve or a loop. Then quickly the body and the tail curve to the other side, and this produces a jerk and pushes the body forward. So a series of such jerks make the fish swim ahead, and the fins present on the body help in movement. The fins on the body of fishes help maintain the balance of the body and direction while swimming. They also act as brakes when the fish needs to stop on the way. The tail fin acts like a rudder that helps the fish to change the direction while swimming. Now it's time for the birds. The birds can fly in the air as well as walk on the ground. So some birds like ducks and swans also swim in water. So birds can fly because of the following features. Number 1, the forelimbs are modified into wings which help them fly. The hind limbs are used for walking and perching. Number 2, they have a streamlined body that cut the air current while flying. Number 3, their bones are hollow which make their body light. And the last one, that they have powerful chest muscles which help them in flapping their wings during their flight. So dear students, this is all about the today's chapter, body movements. If you want more videos from my channel, then subscribe to my channel and click on the bell icon.